In August 2019, WeWork filed a 368-page document to go public. Within 6 weeks, $47 billion had vanished. The CEO was fired. The IPO was canceled. Bloomberg's Matt Levine published his analysis the same day the document dropped. The opening line was, "I have so many questions. Here is what makes this collapse different from every other startup disaster. WeWork was actually right about the future of work. Coworking is now a $30 billion industry. Remote work exploded exactly how they predicted. Their competitor IWG runs 3,300 locations profitably using the exact same business model. So if the vision was correct, why did $47 billion disappear in 6 weeks? And why did the CEO walk away with $1.7 billion while employees who believed in that vision got zero? The answer is in that document, 368 pages that destroyed everything. This is that story. By 2019, WeWork had a problem. They were growing fast, but losing money on every dollar of revenue. In 2018, WeWork generated $1.8 billion in revenue and lost $1.9 billion. The more they grew, the more they lost. Meanwhile, their competitor IWG operated 3,300 co-working locations profitably. Same business model, same market. IWG made money. WeWork burned cash. But here is what makes this story different. The chief executive officer Adam Neumann's vision about the future of work was actually correct. In 2010, he predicted traditional offices would die, flexible spaces would replace cubicles, remote work would explode, and community-driven workspaces would become essential. He was right about all of it. The early WeWork offices had energy that traditional office space did not. Month-to-month memberships instead of 5-year leases, modern design, community events. For freelancers and startups, it worked. Sarah was a community manager at WeWork in 2016. Google had offered her $140,000. WeWork offered $90,000 plus stock options the recruiter promised would make her a millionaire. She turned down Google for the vision. And here is the wild part. She was right. Thousands of employees made the same bet. 70-hour weeks, offers from Facebook and Amazon rejected. All for the vision, but being right about the future does not matter if you cannot execute it. Execution required money. Therefore, WeWork needed to go public. Going public meant filing an S-1 with the SEC. Full disclosure of financials, conflicts, and governance. For years, Neumann controlled the narrative through private funding rounds with curated presentations and non-disclosure agreements. The S-1 would be different. The S-1 would force transparency, and transparency would destroy them. August 14, 2019, 4:01 p.m. Eastern Time. WeWork's S-1 went live on the SEC website. 368 pages. Within hours, Wall Street was reading it in disbelief. Page 1, Mission Statement. Our mission is to elevate the world's consciousness. For a company that rented desks, the financials told the story leadership had been hiding. They lost $1.9 billion in 2018 on $1.8 billion in revenue. Losses were accelerating. Community-adjusted EBITDA, a new metric that added back $1.6 billion in expenses to show profitability, essentially all of them. Analysts had never seen anything like it. The conflicts of interest were everywhere. Adam Neumann owned 4 buildings that WeWork leased. He had trademarked the word "we" personally and sold it to the company for $5.9 million. His wife, Rebecca Neumann, was chief brand officer with no experience. Friends and family were on the payroll. The governance structure was worse. 20-1 super voting shares gave Adam Neumann control of the board. He could fire himself and still receive $185 million. He could never be removed. The side businesses included WeWork Code, Rise by WeGrow, an elementary school where Rebecca Neumann was chief executive officer, and WeLive. None were profitable. Page 167 buried the crisis. They reported $800 million in cash and were burning $400 million per quarter. Without the IPO, they would run out of money in 6 months. That evening, Bloomberg's Matt Levine wrote, "I have so many questions." By morning, Twitter exploded. The New York Times ran a headline that read, "WeWork's prospectus raises questions about its viability." Within 48 hours, the valuation dropped from $47 billion to $20 billion. You cannot make this up. The document meant to convince investors destroyed them instead. On August 27th, the Wall Street Journal reported that Neumann had borrowed $700 million against his WeWork shares. He had cashed out personally, while employees were left with worthless locked stock. On September 3rd, a package of marijuana on a private jet to Israel forced the pilot to destroy it on landing to avoid international drug trafficking charges, and the charter company banned WeWork. On September 13th, the IPO was delayed indefinitely. On September 17th, the valuation fell to $10 billion, and then to $8 billion. Every new detail made things worse, and every detail came from the document WeWork itself had filed. By late September, the board had one choice left. September 24th, 2019. Adam Neumann was removed as CEO. His exit package was $1.7 billion. The employees who built WeWork alongside him got nothing. Their stock was worthless. Sarah had worked at WeWork for 4 years. The equity that was supposed to make her a millionaire expired worthless in 2020. In October, 2,400 employees were laid off. Most learned via email. WeGrow closed. Parents were notified 2 weeks before the semester ended. In November, the SoftBank rescue closed, $9.5 billion at an $8 billion valuation. Masa-san told investors that his investment judgment was poor. The Vision Fund took a write-down of $9 billion. In March 2020, the pandemic arrived. Coworking became toxic. Revenue collapsed 40%. But here is the irony. The pandemic validated everything WeWork predicted. Remote work exploded. Flexible workspace became essential. They were right about the future. It arrived too late. In March 2021, WeWork went public via SPAC at $9 billion. The stock immediately fell 20%. Within a year, it was $3 billion. In November 2023, the company filed for bankruptcy. Its valuation fell from $47 billion to zero. In December 2023, Neumann attempted to buy WeWork out of bankruptcy for $500 million using his exit money. A court rejected the offer as not credible. Matt Levine opened his analysis by saying that he had so many questions. By the end, the answers were clear. The vision was correct. The execution was catastrophic. The believers paid the price. Here is what makes this collapse different from every other startup failure. WeWork did not fail because the idea was wrong. IWG still operates 3,300 locations profitably. The same business model. The co-working industry grew to $30 billion by 2024. After WeWork's bankruptcy, they restructured and still operate 337 locations under new ownership. Some are profitable. The pandemic proved WeWork's predictions accurate. Remote work exploded. Flexible workspace became standard. Companies like Google and Facebook now offer the exact arrangements WeWork pioneered. Everything they predicted about the future of work came true. They just could not execute it. So what went wrong? 3 execution failures destroyed WeWork despite having the right vision. First, growth over unit economics. IWG signed shorter leases, charged higher prices, and expanded deliberately. They were profitable. WeWork signed 10 to 20-year leases and subleased month to month. Long-term risk, short-term revenue. Each new lease increased losses. Leadership believed scale would solve it, but it never did. Amazon lost money for years, but each sale contributed margin. Volume made them profitable. WeWork's unit economics were inverted. Volume made them less profitable. You cannot lose money on every transaction and make it up in volume. But you can survive bad unit economics if you have governance that forces discipline. WeWork did not. Second, unchecked control. Adam Neumann held 20-1 super voting shares. He controlled the board. He could fire himself and still receive $185 million. He used this control to enrich himself. He owned buildings WeWork leased. He trademarked the word "we" and sold it to the company. He took $700 million in loans while employees held illiquid options. When problems emerged, the board could not act. The governance structure prevented accountability until it was too late. Facebook, with Mark Zuckerberg's super voting shares, was profitable from day one. Control matters less when the business works. WeWork's control structure protected someone running a failing business. Governance exists to prevent exactly what happened at WeWork. But unchecked control only matters if it is used to hide reality. That is exactly what happened. Third, narrative over numbers. The S1 included language about elevating the world's consciousness, but it buried cash flow on page 167. Community adjusted, EBITDA, ignored expenses. Vision was emphasized while $1.9 billion in losses were minimized. Successful companies build narrative on fundamentals. Amazon delivered packages efficiently. Tesla made compelling electric cars. WeWork rented desks and lost money. Airbnb went public during a pandemic showing profitability. WeWork showed growing losses and governance red flags. How did it get that far? Masayoshi Son made billion-dollar bets on gut feeling. He had been right on Alibaba, and he believed he would be right on WeWork. But Alibaba was profitable. WeWork never was. When the S1 forced disclosure, $47 billion vanished in 6 weeks. Here's what this story teaches. You can see the future perfectly and still lose everything if you cannot execute it. IWG proved the model works. The pandemic proved remote work was coming. The co-working industry hit $30 billion. Everything WeWork predicted came true. But the employees who believed in that vision did not benefit from being right. They watched the future unfold without them. Sarah turned down $140,000 from Google. She believed co-working was the future. She was correct. Her stock expired worthless. She was right about the future of work, and she gained nothing from that knowledge. Adam walked away with $1.7 billion and started another company. He showed no public acknowledgement of what happened to the employees. Being right about the future does not matter in business. Execution is the only thing that counts. Vision without economics fails. Growth without profit fails. Governance without accountability fails. Narrative without numbers eventually breaks. Markets demand proof. And when WeWork was forced to provide it in 368 pages, the $47 billion vanished in 6 weeks. The employees were right about co-working. Adam was right about flexible work. The vision was accurate. The execution was catastrophic. And in business, execution is all that matters. Reality does not care if you saw it coming.